Hello everyone, today I'll show you how to use the vector art Photoshop action. So before we get started, let's view a few examples. With this action, you can create cool vector images from any of your photos. You just need to open your image and mark the main subject area and then run the action. So the action comes in two parts. The first action creates a rasterized flattened vector style image, and the fun part is in the second action. Once you run the second action, you get cool real true scalable vector graphics. So let me show you. Once we run the second action on this image, we'll get something like this. So this is now a true scalable vector graphics. Like you can see this clearly once this is a vector layer, and let me select pen tool or direct selection tool, and we can see these are all scalable vector path. We can like drag these node points, so you can see that these are editable via vector path. You can also use the pen tool to add or delete anchor points. So the fun part with the scalable vector graphics is that this can be increased to any size that you want, and you will not lose any quality. So this can be very well used in t-shirts, posters, logos, and billboards. So a quick example of this would be, take for example, the size of this image is 2008 by 2248 pixels. So let me increase this size to, let's say, something about this, and once we hit OK, it will resize and we'll see that the quality retains. So it takes some time. I'll fast forward from here, and so it takes up a lot of memory. It depends upon the computer hardware. So I'll fast forward from here and get back once the resize is complete. So the resize is now complete. You can see this is the, it's very sluggish. This is the 100% of the image. Let me squeeze it down a bit so you can see that the resolution, the clarity, everything is perfect since this is scalable vector graphics now. You can edit this and fit any resolution that you want. Okay, so I'll close this and we'll view a few examples. Here's another one. You mark the subject area and then run the action. You can also customize the final result by creating a minimalistic black and white look. So with this action, we have 15 different vector background patterns. So you see here a chevron, a zigzag pattern. Here is an animal print. The action also creates 10 color looks for the image, 10 color looks for the background, and 10 color overall looks. So you can mix and match these 30 different color looks and create some unique styles of your own. Here is another black and white look. Since these are vector images, the final output, you can simply transfer it to another vector editor software. You can also print it on t-shirts or pass it to some billboard signs. Well, as we are done with the examples, one thing we have to note is that this action uses Photoshop oil filter plugin. So you need to make sure that you have this oil filter available. The oil pen filter was first introduced in CS6 and it was also there in CC 2013, but it was discontinued in CC 2014 and CC 2015 version. So if you have any of those two, CC 2014 or CC 2015, then this action will not work for you. So this oil pen plugin was again reintroduced in CC 2015.1 and it's present thereafter. So if you have any newer Photoshop version, then this action will also work for you. So now if you have CCCS6 or CC 2013, you need to check if the oil pen filter is present over here in this region, and if you have some near Photoshop version above CC 2015.1, then this will be present under the stylize menu, oil paint. You need to check if it's present or not, and even if you have it, you need to check if it's grayed out or not, because this oil paint plugin may be disabled due to some hardware or software issues. I have listed down all possible resolutions in the item description page to solve this disabled oil paint filter related issues. So let's close this and open our image. We'll use this one. We need to check few things over here. Go to image mode and check your image is in RGB color mode. You also need to check it's in 8 bits per channel. Now click this flyout menu and select panel options. Check use default masks on fill layers is checked, and also add copy to copied layers and groups must also be checked. Now your image must be a background lock layer. If you have performed some operations like cropping or something else, then your image may look like this, layer 0 or something else. In that case, you need to transform it into a background lock layer for the action to work properly. To do that, go to layer, new background lock layer. As you can see, it has changed to background locked layer. Now regarding image size, this action works fine with images having width size of 2000 pixels to 3500 to 4000 pixels and resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Now let's load up the action. To do that, go to window, actions, and brings up the action panel. Now let's click this flyout menu and select load actions. So here we have two actions which comes in the download package. The first one is a vector rasterized and the second one is vector true vector. Use the second action only after you have ran the first action. This second action works in conjunction with the first action and can only perform if you have ran this rasterized vector action previously. So we'll load this up. We'll go into details once we run the action. So it has two actions depending on our Photoshop version. Let's load up the second action. It has again two parts. First one is automatic and second one is manual. We'll go into details once we run the actions. So now let's load up the brushes. To do that, click this brush icon and click this drop down list and click this gear icon and select load brushes. Navigate to our vector art brushes and select load. Let's load up the patterns. To do that, go to edit, preset, preset manager. From this drop down, select patterns and click load. Select our vector art patterns and load it. One thing we have to check over here is that for this brush tool, the opacity and the flow must be set to 100%. These two parameters have to be set to 100% for the action to work properly. Now we will mark our main subject area. To do that, we'll create a new layer above our main background layer. To do that, click this new layer icon and rename this new layer as subject. Remember, subject must be in lowercase. Subject has to be in lowercase for the action to work properly. Now let's select our background and quickly mark our main subject. I'll use a quick selection tool. You can use any tools of your own choice, like the pen tool or magic wand tool, to quickly select our main subject. Now that with that selected, select the subject layer. Make sure you're painting on the subject layer. Select any brush. I'll take the hard round standard hard round brush which comes with the download package. Take any color and brush over our main subject area. Now deselect the selection. You can absolutely run the action from here, but I'd prefer with a jaggy edge rather than a smooth one. You can also select the entire subject if you want, but I'd prefer a jaggy edge because it gives a cool effect after the action has finished. So to do that, select one of our brushes which comes with the package. I'll select the background brush 1 and I'll simply press once or twice to create these jaggy edges. With that done, we can simply run the action. We have to run this first action, so we'll select the appropriate action according to our Photoshop version and we'll click play. It will take some time for the action to finish, so we'll fast forward from here and get back when the action has finished rendering. So the action has finished rendering and we have our finishing pop-up message. It says the vectorizer rasterized Photoshop action has finished rendering. You can now adjust the individual elements and play the vector true vector action. If you wish to run the true vector action, please remember to follow the below important points. These are: do not rename any layer or group, do not duplicate or delete any layer or group, do not move or change any layer group order. You must keep this nomenclature and the layer ordering intact if you wish to run the second action. If you do not want to run the second action and take your image, export it out from here, then you're absolutely okay to modify as you want. But if you wish to transform your this is a rasterized image, if you want to transform it into a vector image, then you have to keep this points, this layer ordering and nomenclature naming intact. The modifications that you can do are: you can change the layer visibility, or you can resize, reposition, or rotate any individual elements. You can also paint on the layer mask with black or white to hide or show parts of the layer elements. Then you need to play the second true vector action. Please watch the video tutorial for further details. So the main things are, if you want to export your image out from here, save it as a JPG or BMP or PNG format, then you are absolutely fine to make any kinds of modification that you want. But if you wish to run this second action and turn your image into a true scalable vector graphics, then you have to follow those points. Like, you should not rename any layer, you should not duplicate, you should not reorder, drag, or move up and down. Otherwise this action will not work properly. So before we run this and turn it into a vector image, let's see what edit possibilities we have with the elements that are generated over here. First, let's change the text. Text is a smart object. To change it, we have to double click and we'll open our smart object in a new window, and we can change the text to anything that we like and use any font of our choice. So it's getting out of the bounds, so we'll increase with the crop tool. I've selected the crop tool and I'm extending the canvas. Now again, let's highlight the text and I'll select some different color. Now since it's a smart object, we save this and close this window and it will automatically update in our main photo. So we'll save this and we'll close it, and we see it's already updated in our main image. We'll select this text elements folder and we'll drag it over here. We can also change text shadow color, but we'll keep it gray as it is right now. Now coming to other elements, we have BG base. You can change the color of our main background. I'll keep it blue. Now we have 15 background patterns. We have dots, chevron, zigzag, lines, sunburst. We can also select this pattern, take move tool and move our pattern. We can also double click and scale our pattern. We have some swirls, stars, tribal, geometric, animal prints, digital, and hearts. I'll keep the dots on, and we can also change the blending mode to make some cool effects. This is color board, lighten, screen, overlay, soft light, hard mix, difference, subtract, divide. I'll keep multiply. Here we have the background frames. We have two different types of frames, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 has a more jaggy edges, whereas type 2 has more smoother, rounder, splatter kind of edges. And in this frames we also have top, right, bottom and left. You can show two of them together, or you can select one of them and take the move tool and move them around. Same goes for the type 1 frames. And one cool thing you can do is you can select one of these and select the layer mask and take a brush. I'll take the background brush 1 because it has the same jaggy edges as the frame, and with white you can paint to hide because you are showing the white areas, so it's hidden. And you can also take black and paint and make your own custom frame. Now these are the 10 background color effects. You can simply show them by one click. This will affect the background only. Here we have the main image elements. Remember, this is now a rasterized image. We will turn it to a vector image once we run the second action. We have background shadows. This is shadow right and this is shadow left. You can also show both of them if you want, but we'll keep the right one here. Here we have the background edges. It creates a black and white wavy lines around the edges to add some more depth. You can hide parts of this if you want by painting on the layer mask with black. I'll take this hard round brush. You can take the layer mask and you can paint to hide and show by painting with white. Next we have background splatters. Splatters create some uneven elements to add some more effects around the edges. You can also take the layer mask, take color black and paint to hide if you want, and paint with white to show parts of them. Next we have image color. There are two types of image color, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 and type 2 might have minimum differences, but they can vary with the different sizes of images. I'll keep the type 1 here, and we can also select this image toning and we can change the opacity. I'd prefer it to keep it to 80%. Next we have shadow, or the main black elements. We have shadow normal and shadow more. We can also select the layer mask and paint with color black if you want to hide parts of these black lines. I'll undo this quickly, and here we have the highlights. Highlights more and highlights less. Same goes for these layers. You can paint on the layer mask with black to hide parts of these elements. Then we have hatching. We have the hatching white and we have the hatching black. Next we have image adjustments. This adjustment layers specifically apply only to the image. Curves, vibrance. Next we have levels. We have black and white. We have color, overlay, and gradient map. Next we have 10 image color effects. These color effects apply only to the image, and the background color effects are independent of this, so you can mix and match both of them to create some cool effects of your own. Now we have our 10 overall color effects. These overall color effects apply to the whole area. Next we have overall adjustments, overall brightness and contrast, overall levels, overall curves, overall hue saturation, overall color fill, and overall gradient map. You can also hide this image color layer and this background base layer, and also turn your text layer to white to create a cool minimalistic black and white vector style art. Now if you are satisfied with this first effect, then we can proceed and our rasterized flattened image into a real scalable vector graphics. To do that, we have to first run the step 1, which is automatic. It will turn all the layers to vector graphics except the color areas, because it's difficult to turn this color areas and pick them up automatically. So we'll use the second one to turn the color effects to vector graphics. So before we run the second action, let's run the first action and turn our main image area to vector scalable paths. We'll select the step 1 automatic and we'll hit play. But before that, I need to make a note that it's absolutely okay if you want to export your image out of here and save it as in any format like PNG or JPG and use it in your project. But if you wish to use your image in some larger projects like billboards or t-shirts, it's very effective if you turn it into a vector image, because once you scale it up, you lose no quality because these are scalable vector graphics. So with that up, let's select the automatic step 1 and hit play. It will take some time. We will wait for the action to finish and we'll come back after it has done. So the automatic true vector action has finished rendering and it has turned most of our layers into vector path. I need to make a note is that the image color is still a flattened layer, because it's very difficult to segregate color areas. So for that we have our manual selection mode. So I'll quickly run this one and show you how to separate out the color layers and turn them to a vector path, and then we'll go into details into each and every layer that is generated after we have run the first automatic action. So select this manual step 2 for true vector action and hit play. We will get a prompt to select a color. For the color range dialog, we'll select a color with the eyedropper tool, and a few settings that is recommended is check this localized color clusters and keep fuzziness to 75 and range to 100%. Select the color layer that you want to turn vector and click OK. Now we see that we have our very first vector color layer. We will zoom in a bit, select this direct selection tool, and we have our vector path with vector nodes and all. So we can repeat this step for all the color individual areas and turn them to vector paths one by one. So it can take some time, but it will slowly turn all your color areas to vector path. I repeated these steps a few times for few color areas. Just hit play, select the color range, hit OK. That's it. I'll hide this whole color area. As you can see, it's slowly starting to take shape. These are all vector layers with all vector anchor points and node points. These are fully scalable vector graphics. So I'll stop it here and we'll have a look at all the other layers that has been modified. I'll show this just to have a overall representation. We have our background frame turned vector. We'll select this direct selection tool. Here we can see we have our vector node points. We can edit them. We can use the pen tool to add an anchor point and modify them or delete anything. So these are all fully scalable vector graphics. We can scale them to any resolution that we want. We have our background patterns turned vector also. Select the background pattern with the direct selection tool. We can check these are now vector. Our shadow areas are also turned vector. Our shadow hatching, we have vector path with nodes and anchor points. Same goes for the shadow left. We'll show the shadow right here. Same goes for all other elements like the background edges. These are all vector now. Background splatters. True vector graphics. Completely scalable. Image color we just viewed. We have the shadow black areas. Here we see these are now vector paths. Same goes for the highlights. Then we have our hatching layers turned vector also. Our text shadow pattern is also turned vector. And in this scenario, these color adjustments and color effects also apply, so you can keep mixing effects after the layers are turned vector. The cool thing is, for scalable vector graphics, you can increase the size to anything that you want, and there will be no loss in the quality, as we have demonstrated earlier. You can transfer these vector graphics to any vector editing software and also use them to print t-shirts or use in large-scale billboards. There will be no loss in quality since these are fully scalable vector graphics. You can now edit via the node points. So if you feel any problem, you run into any issues, feel free to reach me, drop me a mail from my item profile page, or put a comment in the item page, and I'll get back to you. So that's it all. That's it for the vector graphics, vector art Photoshop action. I hope you like it. See you soon.